The day Liam died began no differently from any other. He and Marcus walked home from school, backpacks bouncing against their shoulders, teasing each other about homework and weekend plans. The neighborhood looked warm and harmless beneath the late afternoon sun, but Marcus would spend the rest of his life replaying that walk, searching for the exact moment everything changed, because something else walked with them that day, something neither boy invited. Marcus noticed movement above them, a shifting silhouette on a rooftop. Not a bird, not a person. It was crouched too low, too still, its limbs stretched too long to belong to anything natural. Marcus blinked, and the thing tilted its head toward him, slowly, as if acknowledging that he had finally seen it. Marcus grabbed Liam's sleeve, whispering sharply that someone was watching them. Liam squinted at the rooftop, shrugged, and burst into laughter. "Dude, it's probably just a broken chimney." But Marcus felt the air shift, the way it goes silent before a storm. The creature wasn't an object, it was waiting. Marcus turned away for only a second. When he looked back, the creature was gone from the first roof. Now it crouched on a different house, several meters closer. Liam stopped laughing. For the first time, Marcus saw fear in his friend's eyes. At the intersection, the elderly crossing guard stepped in front of them. Her hands trembled as she gripped her stop sign. "Don't look behind you," she whispered sharply. "That shadow, it follows those whose time is running out." Liam scoffed, but his voice cracked slightly. Marcus felt the world tilt. The temperature dropped suddenly. Their breath fogged even though the sun was still out. Marcus heard faint scraping, like nails dragging across shingles. He didn't want to look back. Every instinct told him not to. But Liam stepped into the road. As Liam crossed ahead of the signal, a shape materialized in front of him, tall, twisted, impossibly thin. A living shadow. It didn't walk into the road. It simply appeared there. Liam froze mid-step, staring into a face that wasn't a face at all. Marcus shouted, but the car horn drowned out his voice. The impact was quick, brutal, echoing down the street like a gunshot. Liam collapsed silently onto the pavement. But the creature, it bent over him, almost tenderly, its head lowered as though listening to his final breath. Then it melted into the shadow of the stopped car and vanished. Police sirens shattered the silence. Neighbors appeared on porches, whispering. No one mentioned the creature. No one else had seen it. But Marcus couldn't stop staring at the rooftops, expecting it to return. It didn't. Not yet. Days turned into weeks. Marcus tried returning to normal life, but the memory clung to him like smoke. He saw elongated shadows where none should be, heard scraping sounds outside his window at night. But every time he looked, nothing was there. He convinced himself it was grief, that he was imagining it, until the night the tapping began. A soft tap, tap, tap on the window pane. Marcus froze. Another tap, deliberate, patient. He pulled the curtain aside with trembling fingers. At first, he thought it was only his reflection, but then the outline behind it shifted, long, thin, bending wrong in the moonlight, the same silhouette from the day Liam died. The shadow had returned.
When Aaron's family moved in to Larkspur Street, he thought it looked like any normal neighborhood. Tidy lawns, parked cars, quiet evenings. But there was one strange thing he noticed his first night, something that didn't make sense. No matter where he stood, he couldn't see his own shadow. The streetlights were bright, the moon was out. Cars and fences cast long, dark silhouettes. His didn't. Aaron assumed it was a trick of light, but then he saw it. At the end of the road stood a single, tall street lamp, older than the rest, flickering softly. It buzzed like something alive. It felt like it was staring at him. Every time he turned away and looked back, it seemed a little closer. His parents laughed at him, but the fear stayed. Around 2 a.m., Aaron woke to the sound of footsteps outside his window. Slow, deliberate, dragging. He peered between the blinds. Larkspur Street was empty, but the old street lamp, the one at the far end, now stood directly outside his driveway, humming louder than before, its light unnaturally white. Under it was a figure, tall, thin, completely still. And, just like him, it cast no shadow either. The next morning, Aaron found footprints in the dew on his lawn. His footprints. Same size, same worn pattern. Except he hadn't gone outside. Something was copying him, he told himself. Something on this street is trying to look like me. That night, as he brushed his teeth, he saw movement behind him in the hallway mirror, a silhouette stepping past his bedroom door. His silhouette. But he was alone in the bathroom. Aaron went next door seeking answers. An elderly neighbor opened the door cautiously. When he mentioned the street lamp and the figure, her face drained of color. "You shouldn't be out after dark," she whispered. "Whatever lives under that lamp, it chooses someone. It watches them, learns them." Aaron's stomach twisted. "What happens when it finishes learning?" he asked. She didn't answer. She only shut the door, fast. The third night was the worst. Aaron heard gentle tapping at the front door. Not knocking, but tapping, like fingernails. His parents slept upstairs. He crept to the stairs and looked down. Through the frosted glass of the door, he saw a blurry shape. His own height, his own posture. It lifted a hand and pressed it to the window. On the other side of the glass, Aaron's hand rose without him meaning to. It was mirroring him perfectly.
Aaron forced himself to pull away, stumbling back. The tapping grew faster, more aggressive. Then everything stopped. Silence. He peeked again. The figure was gone, but his front door was unlocked. He looked down the street. The old street lamp was gone too. The night felt heavier, darker, like the world had exhaled. And then he saw movement in his living room doorway behind him. His own face staring back. Expressionless. Eyes too wide. Skin too pale. And absolutely no shadow beneath it. Aaron ran. He dashed out of the house into the street. He didn't care where he went, anywhere but home. Except every house looked wrong. Lights flickered strangely, windows seemed too dark. And at the far end of the neighborhood, the old street lamp flickered back on. The light intensified, swelling like a spotlight. From beneath it stepped Aaron's shadowless double. But this time, it wasn't imitating him. It was walking toward him. Confident, controlled, like it no longer needed the real Aaron. He backed up slowly. The double whispered something with a voice like broken static. "You don't need your shadow anymore." The street went black. The next morning, Aaron's parents woke to find the front door wide open. Aaron was gone. But walking calmly down Larkspur Street was another boy who looked exactly like him, smiling. And behind him, the street lamp hummed approvingly.
When Daniel moved into the old Riverside apartments, he wasn't expecting much. A cheap place, thin walls, creaky floors, nothing out of the ordinary. But on his first night, he heard something strange. A woman's voice echoing from the vents, a strained whisper, a cry, a scream. The sound came from apartment 6B, a unit his landlord told him had been empty for over a year. At 2:14 a.m., Daniel shot awake. A scream, raw, ragged, desperate, tore through the vents. He froze in bed as he heard fists pounding against a wall somewhere behind him. It lasted exactly 36 seconds. Then silence. No footsteps. No voices. Nothing. The next morning, Daniel confronted the landlord, an older man with tired eyes, who seemed irritated the moment apartment 6B was mentioned. "There's nobody in that unit," the landlord insisted. "Hasn't been anyone for months." But Daniel saw something flicker across his expression, something like fear. The screaming didn't return that night, but something else did. A soft scratching, like fingernails tracing the inside of the drywall. Slow, testing, searching. Daniel pressed his ear to the wall, and whatever was behind it pressed back. Around 3 a.m. on the third night, Daniel stepped into the hallway, determined to prove 6B was occupied. But when he turned the corner, he saw her. A woman standing outside apartment 6B. Hair wet, clothes soaked, head bowed, completely still. And the hallway lights above her flickered faster and faster, as if reacting to her presence. Daniel whispered, "Ma'am, are you okay?" The woman lifted her head. Her face was pale. Water streamed from her eyes like tears, but her expression was empty, frozen. And then she opened her mouth, not to speak, but to scream. The next morning, police arrived, not because Daniel called them, but because another tenant had reported a smell coming from 6B. The door was forced open. Inside, the unit was flooded. Ankle-deep water, walls swollen, ceiling dripping. And in the center of the living room was a chair tipped onto its side, rope tied to a ceiling beam. Whoever had lived there had drowned inside their own apartment. When the police left, Daniel noticed wet footprints leading from 6B straight to his door. He followed the prints with trembling eyes, but they didn't turn around. They didn't return to the flooded apartment. They ended right at his threshold and disappeared inside. That night, Daniel didn't sleep. At 2:14 a.m., the screaming came from inside his room, and the sound was coming from directly behind him.